My parents chose to fund my brother's wedding instead of helping me recover from surgery. Growing up, I always knew my older brother Ethan was the golden child. He could do no wrong in my parents' eyes, and I, the quiet, bookish one, was often overlooked. I accepted it as a fact of life and tried not to dwell on it too much. But when their favoritism crossed into outright neglect during one of the most vulnerable times of my life, I couldn't ignore it anymore. 3 months ago, I was in a terrible car accident. A distracted driver ran a red light and hit me. I was rushed to the hospital with multiple injuries, including a fractured leg and a dislocated shoulder. The doctors told me I would need surgery followed by extensive physical therapy. It was a daunting prospect, both physically and financially. I don't have a lot of savings because I'm still paying off student loans. My job as a freelance graphic designer doesn't come with health benefits, so the medical bills were piling up fast. I turned to my parents for help, assuming they'd be there for me in this time of need. But when I called to explain my situation, my mom cut me off mid-sentence. "Sweetie, I wish we could help, but we've already allocated all our extra funds for Ethan's wedding," she said. I was stunned. "Mom, I'm not asking for a handout. I just need a loan to get through this. I can pay you back." "We just don't have anything left," she insisted. "You know how important Ethan's wedding is. He and Madison want it to be perfect." Perfect? I was lying in a hospital bed, struggling to figure out how I was going to afford the surgery I needed to walk again, and they were more concerned about Ethan's picture-perfect wedding? When I asked my dad about it later, he was no help either. "Ethan's wedding has been planned for over a year. You can't expect us to drop everything now." I hung up, feeling a mixture of hurt, anger, and disbelief. I wasn't asking for a luxury. It was a medical necessity. Meanwhile, Ethan and his fiancée were planning a lavish destination wedding with over 200 guests, complete with a live band and custom floral arrangements. Ethan didn't even bother calling to check on me. When I texted him about my situation, he replied with, "Sorry to hear that, sis. Hope you're back on your feet soon." That was it. Desperate, I started a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for my surgery. Thankfully, my friends, co-workers, and even some extended family members stepped in to help. I managed to raise enough to cover a portion of my medical expenses, and I set up a payment plan with the hospital for the rest. Meanwhile, Ethan's wedding day arrived. I wasn't invited, and honestly, I didn't care. According to pictures on social media, it was every bit as extravagant as they had planned. My parents looked radiant, beaming in the family photos. 2 weeks later, I was discharged from the hospital and moved into a rental apartment that was more accessible for my recovery. My best friend, Sarah, came by regularly to help me with errands and keep me company. Not once did my parents or Ethan offer to visit. The final straw came when I received a call from my mom. She wanted to know why I hadn't sent Ethan and Madison a wedding gift. "Are you serious?" I asked, barely containing my frustration. "You couldn't spare a dime to help me when I needed surgery, but you expect me to buy them a gift?" She huffed. "It's tradition, Lauren. You can't hold a grudge forever." "I'm not holding a grudge," I snapped. "I'm setting boundaries. If you and Ethan can't be there for me when it really matters, don't expect me to pretend everything is fine." I hung up, shaking with anger. That was the moment I decided I was done with them. Over the next few months, I focused on my recovery and my career. I started working with new clients and built a solid portfolio. Financially, I wasn't out of the woods yet, but I was making progress. Then, out of the blue, Ethan called. "Hey, Lauren, I heard you're doing better. Listen, Madison and I are thinking about buying a house, and we're a little short on the down payment. Any chance you could lend us some cash? I couldn't believe the audacity. Ethan, do you hear yourself right now? You didn't even call to check on me after my accident, and now you're asking for money? Come on, Lauren, he said, sounding annoyed. We're family. You know I'd help you if the roles were reversed. I laughed bitterly. Would you? Because when I needed help, you and Mom and Dad couldn't care less. I'm sorry, but the answer is no. Ethan tried to guilt trip me, but I held firm. For the first time, I realized I didn't owe my family anything, not my time, not my energy, and certainly not my money. Cutting them off wasn't easy, but it was necessary for my mental health. I still keep in touch with a few supportive relatives, but I no longer go out of my way to maintain a relationship with my parents or Ethan. These days, I'm in a much better place. I've made new friends who feel more like family than my actual relatives ever did. And as for Ethan and his perfect life, last I heard, he and Madison were struggling to keep up with their mortgage payments. Part of me feels sorry for them, but mostly, I feel free. Sometimes, family isn't about blood. It's about who's there when it really counts. And in my case, it turns out my real family was waiting for me outside of the one I was born into. So, was I wrong on focusing on myself and cutting away from my old family? Let me know in the comments below.